So if you want to become rich, but you don't want to wake up early, then I've got some good news and I've got some bad news for you. So the good news is that yes, you can become rich waking up late, but the bad news is that if you're a brokey, you probably have to start your business first. You don't have any capital to invest in anything. So you're going to start your business and you are your own business. So if you wake up late, you're opening up your store 2 hours after the first customers could have already come in. Basically, you're missing out on a couple hours of productivity, of clarity that you do have when you wake up early and that you don't have when you wake up late. And I can personally testify of this because I've been waking up late for the past 6 months. And the reason is that I'm on a carnivore diet. My parents don't like it. I've been forced to either cook outside, but it's freezing cold in the winter. So I've been cooking at 10 p.m. when my parents went to bed because then they wouldn't notice the smell the next morning and they wouldn't get frustrated when they saw me. Well, until last weekend because my father suddenly came downstairs, saw me cooking, and he became very mad at me. So I'm kind of forced at the moment to cook outside, but it's fine because it's springtime. So now instead of the past 6 months of cooking at 10 p.m., I'm just cooking at 6 or 7. And now I can sleep earlier, and now I've been waking up earlier. So yesterday I cooked my food at 7 instead of at 10, had some time to digest the food before going to bed, and this morning I fucking woke up at 6 a.m. instead of like normal 11. I used to wake up at 11, but now I'm waking up at 6. And I think that a good average to wake up is like 7 or 8 a.m. That's gonna be fine for anyone. And how I felt this morning was unlike any other day. I felt more recovered. I had mental clarity. So what I did is I was just laying in bed, just relaxing, thinking about some stuff. And because I felt like I had so much time on my hands, I felt more inclined to actually doing my habits. Whereas other days I would feel very inclined to start working right away. Because if you're waking up at 11 a.m., you really don't want to waste more time. So I started reading for an hour in my bed, read 10% of the book. Then I started doing my workout. I used the X3 bar to save me an hour a day. And then I started showering, finished out with a cold shower, came back, meditated. Then I wrote in my journal what I was going to do today. And now I'm here. And I realized that your energy level is very directly correlated to the quality of sleep. And the quality of sleep is, of course, determined by how long you eat before you go to bed, having blue light exposure or not, having a clear head. I've done quite some research on it that I can share in another video, but I can definitely tell you if you eat too late, it's going to fuck up your sleep. So what I realized is that daylight has a big impact on how you sleep. It's of course the melatonin and the cortisol. So if you have blue light before bed, you're going to have less deep sleep and it's just gonna fuck up your sleep, right? And then also digesting food just before you go to bed, it's going to take away the energy from your recovery and it's going to put it towards digesting the food. So you wake up a little less energized. And these are all little chain habits that affect how early you wake up, how you feel during the morning, and how motivated you feel to do certain things like doing your workout, breathing. Like if you wake up and you feel like shit or you have a brain fog, the last thing you want to do is read or do your workout, right? So sleep is freaking important, your diet is important, exercise is important, all of it is important, but also the timing of your food and the blue light exposure before bed. God, there are so many things that you can do wrong. There are so many tiny bad habits that if you do them, they will fuck up your sleep, they will fuck up your day, and they will fuck up you. And because you're an entrepreneur, that will fuck up your business and you will not get rich. And I know that sleep is important, but it's harder than you think to become aware of the things that are fucking up your sleep. In my case, it was staying up late because I work in the United States, but I live in the Netherlands. The second reason was because of the blue lights. Third reason was because of porn. And the fourth reason was because I was eating late. So there are so many habits that can fuck up your sleep. Because how many of you are watching some dumb movie or some stupid series, or even worse, porn just before going to bed? Because the blue light emitted by your screen is disrupting your sleep more than you think and realize. So once you wake up early in the morning at like 6 or 7 a.m. and it's already light outside during the spring, I know that you need more sleep during the winter because the days are shorter, so you have less light, so that affects your circadian rhythm. But if you're in the spring, you're already going to have light the moment you wake up, and this means you have more light hours during the day. And the more light hours you have during the day, the more time and energy you have to be productive because when it gets darker, you automatically start shutting off. So the earlier you wake up, the more daylight you get, the more time and energy you have, and the more you can get done. And because I feel that I have more time and energy on my hands, I feel way more inclined to reading my book, doing my workout, meditating, writing in my journal, planning the day, all of that stuff. because I can do all of that within 1 hour and then I can get to work. So now instead of waking up at 11, I wake up at 6 or 7 or 8, and I have 3, 4, or 5 hours more in the day to get some work done. So this morning I woke up and I read for an hour, did my workout. I use the X3 bar because it saves time and it's more effective. And then I started showering. And then I started thinking under the shower that, hey, why don't I like meditate? I've already done my workout. I've already read the book. Why don't I also meditate? And then the biggest subconscious objection came to surface, namely that I thought it was going to take too much time. But then I broke through my own objection and I was like, it's only going to take 5 minutes, right? So what's the matter? And then I told myself, well, no, like doing all of that stuff, it's, taking too much attention because I was under the impression that it's a waste of time to read a book and meditate and do all that stuff instead of just going to work right away. But under the shower, I realized that you can do all of that stuff within an hour of time, but you just have to be smart about it. So the first objection, which it takes too much time, is off the table. You can read for 15 minutes and you can meditate for 5 minutes, and writing a plan for the day doesn't even take 1 minute. So the second objection I had to reading a book in the morning is I thought that is going to take a lot of my headspace away from my business. So that's going to be counterproductive. So meaning you can actually never read a book, right? But then I realized that working out, showering, and meditating will already compensate for that. So you don't have to worry about it. So then I thought to myself, like, why is it such a big deal to read in the morning, work out, and journal and meditate and take a cold shower? Like all these habits, it's a whole list, right? So what I realized is that it doesn't take time or attention to do it, but it does take headspace to have to remember every morning what to do. So then I started thinking under the shower, how can I make my mornings most predictable? And lo and behold, I came to the idea that I might want to have a morning routine. But I've tried this before. I've done the habit tracking in Notion and I always failed at it. I've never been consistent. It takes 60 days before your conscious activity becomes unconscious and it becomes a habit ingrained in your system. But most people don't have an effective system to stay consistent for the next 60 days, especially if you have all of these little steps. So the thing that I tried first was just writing down my routine online, right? In Notion. Didn't work. So the next thing I did was I made a habit tracker in Notion so I can check it off. And I felt like this is gonna be it. I'm going into it every day and I'm going to checkbox it, or really I am not. The result is that I just forget to do it. I don't feel like checking every box every day. Just a waste of time. So under the shower, I connected the dots and I implemented what I've learned from my business and business books onto my personal life, meaning SOPs. So what's an SOP? An SOP is a standard operational procedure that you have to go through every day and you just follow the steps to get the same desired result. This allows for predictable consistency when training virtual assistants, so you can delegate and elevate yourself and step back and have them do the work for you. Benefit of an SOP is that you don't have to think about it. It's simple, it's trainable, and you can just follow the steps every day. So what you do is you write out the exact steps that you want to do every morning, and you print it out, you put it in a plastic sleeve, and you put it on your desk. And this sounds quite simple, but why aren't you doing it? And why have I not been doing it? Because we falsely believe that by writing our routines digitally, that we can also implement it in our life. And the reason it doesn't work is because you miss a trigger. You're going to end up forgetting to open it every day. When you print it out and it's right in your face every day, you have a trigger to start a habit. A habit is made out of four components. The first one is the trigger, then comes the craving, then comes the routine, the action, and then comes the reward. So if you don't have a trigger every day, and it's not going to be internal for the first 60 days, then you're not going to do it. So when you wake up in the morning and you see your daily routine glued to your laptop in a plastic sleeve, you're going to be much more likely to end up doing it because you know that you want to do it every day, but you just don't want to forget. So the best reminders for habits that you're trying to instill into your system are physical, not digital. I've tried the Google Calendar thing, even with reminders, and you can even get a bling, but it's not going to work because one notification among many other notifications isn't going to have a strong enough presence compared to having paper on top of your laptop. If you want to grow your business and become rich, then you first got to work on your own business, meaning yourself, in the morning. And the best way to do that is by reading to increase your knowledge, by working out to increase your testosterone, your strength and energy, meditation to increase your headspace, writing your targets for the day to increase your focus, and of course, you don't need to read or meditate or work out even every day, as long as you're doing it 80% of the time. There's a wrong mindset that I've had and that many other men share with me, which is the black and white thinking. You either go all in or you're all out. You don't need to go all in or all out. You can also just be 80% consistent. Instead of setting a goal at meditating 5 minutes a day, which is unachievable long term, like everyone is going to miss a day, right? Instead, you set a goal to meditating 80% of the time. So now missing once or twice a week isn't going to be a big deal. However, you gotta be as consistent as possible still. So now, even though you might miss once or twice per week, you're not going to feel like you're failing your goal. So your motivation is going to be kept high and you're still doing it 80% of the time. Meditating 80% of the time is better than meditating 0% of the time. And going for that 100% consistency is going to make it very difficult for you to stick to your promises. And when you don't stick to your promises, your self-esteem lowers. You start becoming demotivated and you're just going to quit doing it. So to wrap it up, a great morning routine doesn't really take energy or time or attention. It just takes structure. So here in front of you, you see what I just quickly wrote. I'm still going to improve it, but use it as an example. I'm using time slots and I'm also using the amount of time per slot. So I know exactly how much time I'm going to be spending per area in my life. And this is going to give me a mental structure for my morning. And I'm going to do it from A to Z. And I'm going to be able to repeat it every morning by recognizing the paper that's sitting on my laptop and then reading it and just following it from A to Z. So now the only question you got to ask yourself in the morning is the cost worth the benefit? What's the ROI? If you've got a lot of work to do during the day, then it might just be worth it to just skip the meditation and workout and reading, right? Well, no, I disagree with that. Let me tell you why. Average person spends 4 hours a day glued to their phone, watching YouTube videos, texting, scrolling through social media, and you're going to tell me that you don't have 15 minutes to read a book? Thought so. So one of the things that you can do to save some time during the day is remove social media from your phone, download an app called AppBlock that blocks certain apps during specific time slots. So I'm not distracted by friends, family, girls. If someone really wants to reach me, they can just call me. Next thing I block on my phone, which is crucial, is YouTube. It's very easy to wake up in the morning, open up YouTube and start watching some dumb videos. And I can't think of a more effective way to waste your time and remain poor. Speaking of YouTube and dopamine and all of that stuff, if you still play video games and you think you can play like 2 hours a day and then work on your business, let me just tell you because I also thought the same thing, but reality has caught up on me. You can't really play video games and be hyper productive. Why? Because video games have been created in such a way that they are extra addicting because the more you play, the more money they make. And by giving you a lot of fake rewards in your brain, you're basically fooling yourself that you're doing something productive with your life. So by giving all of those fake rewards to your brain center, you subconsciously think that you are being successful and productive. And the boring business really cannot compare to the intensity of the rewards that you get from playing video games. So what happens is you become less motivated to do hard stuff like working on your business, working out, and you become more used to instant gratification, which makes it harder to keep persevering. And instead, what you will probably do is you will seek to escape into the video game world and you will stop doing the other thing. If you just remove the video games, you actually become more capable as a man to confront the problems and the fears that you have in your business and life. What happens when you remove the video games from your computer and stop watching porn and you stop watching YouTube and all of the bullshit, you become more acclimated to natural dopamine release, and therefore working on your business is going to give more pleasure, and you're going to just be way more motivated to do hard things. So by discontinuing the consumption of YouTube, Netflix, video games, adult content, your brain becomes more wired for success. It's going to become easier to do hard and boring things, and business by definition is hard and boring at the beginning. You have to work for long periods of time without result. You have to get used to delayed gratification as opposed to the instant cheap dopamine that you get from playing video games, watching adult content, YouTube, social media, all of it. And I know that this is one of the biggest differentiators that has separated me from my peers by not doing all of that stuff 80% of the time. And again, it's not that I never do any of these things. Like once a month, I might watch a movie, right? And once a week, I might check up on Instagram. I do, however, strongly recommend quitting watching adult content if you can. I found it very difficult myself to quit doing it, but after a lot of trials, I finally succeeded. And if you want to quit watching adult content, here's one of my biggest tips. Talk to some friends who are as aware as you on the damaging effect of watching porn, but who are also quite addicted to it because it's super addicting. And set up a challenge with some of your friends that if you do it for the next 90 days and just keep extending it every time, you got to pay a total amount and divide that by the amount of people who are participating. There's going to be a sweet spot where it just hurts too much, but it's also not enough to start lying to your friends about it. So we did $100. It's not enough to start lying to your friends about it, but it's also not too little to not care. Find the sweet spot. So one other way that I save a lot of time is by only eating once a day. The reason I can do that is because I'm on a ketogenic diet, which means I'm not carbohydrate dependent, and therefore I can go way, way longer without foods. Even in many history books, like on the Mongolian Empire, where the Genghis Khan was conquering the West, you would read that they were on a carnivorous diet would fight against a West which was composed of carb-fed soldiers who had weaker bones and who couldn't go for a day without food. So you can already imagine how their increased ability to go without food and their increased strength would have helped in their war against the West and how it would have helped in conquering the West. And eventually they did for quite a while. So if we can extrapolate that principle into our own business, into our own war. You can also start saying, hey, let's only eat once a day. Because when you work in a fasted state is when you are the most productive and the most focused. And the reason of that is simple. When you are digesting food, blood flow and energy goes towards your digestion and it goes away from the muscle and from the brain. So naturally when you eat, you're gonna have a little energy crash. So by only eating once a day after work, you overcome that objection of your body and you get to work all day. Always been the most productive when I didn't eat, and the moment I ate, it just fucked everything up. Because suddenly you are out of homeostasis, there's something put into your body has to deal with it. So by not eating, you decrease the energy needed to digest food, and you get to use that energy in your brain and your muscle to do your workout and to focus on your business. Last one but not the least is saying no to friends, parties, chicks during the week. So if you're like me, you're probably going to have a ton of distractions during the week. Anyone is going to ask you, hey, you want to come to the party? You want to hang out? If maybe going to be some ladies who want to spend time with you. Well, especially with those ladies, it's even going to be more beneficial for you to be busy because that's only going to make them want you more. However, there's still a lot of chance that you let yourself be distracted by friends who might have a gap year or whatever it may be. Just say no. Like, you've put a lot of burden and responsibility and risk on yourself by choosing to start your own business. If you're like me and you're not going to college, which for most people is a waste of time, and you're going your own path, a man going his own way, but then in the right sense, then you don't have time to waste time, right? Because you have a ton of risk, you have no degree, and if you're not going to succeed in what you're currently doing, you have a very hard future ahead of you because you have no degree. And if you end up not succeeding in what you're currently trying to do, then imagine what's going to be the alternative. Your friends and all the people studying who tell you to party now and enjoy your life, enjoy the moment because this is the best time of your life. It's because they have the best time of their life right now, because they are going to be stuck in a job 5 years from now and they are going to have very boring lives. But you are not like that. You are an online entrepreneur and you're going to make a shit ton of money. So 10 years from now, you won't even have to work anymore if you do it correctly. And you're going to have dozens and dozens of years of free time available for you. So it's not a big deal to work more right now, so you have 10 times more time and money later. But the other people aren't in the same mindset as you because they are not going to do it. They are in the mindset of, hey, I've got my studying years right now, and a couple years from now I'll be in a job. So, let's get wasted, let's do a lot of crazy stuff. And you can kind of get sucked in to that mindset. But just remember that for you it's completely the opposite. People who study have no responsibility. They have zero. They are basically grown children because they can just, study, do their exams, and then they can go back to scrolling on their social media. That's why they are having so much fun right now. But a couple of years from now, reality will catch up and they will be stuck in their job. And if they like their job, that's gonna be fine. Like, it's not a big deal, but it's not what you want. But for you, there is no free time and 4 years of basically having no responsibility and being able to party because you're a student, right? No, you've got responsibilities because you are starting your own business. And there's a certain likelihood that it succeeds or fails, and you want to optimize the likelihood of it succeeding. And you do that by spending as much time as possible on your business because you cannot risk the chance of it failing because that could ruin your entire life, which is the reason why most people are afraid of starting their own business because there's so much risk involved, and most people don't even think about starting a business in the first place because of that. So, you having your business until you are comfortable, I would not even think about going out, and I wouldn't even think about spending time with the boys drinking beers. Last year in 2022, I didn't see a lot of friends. I didn't go out. I was working 6 days a week. Also, I had no money to spend on having drinks with the friends. I just couldn't do that. And it was a more lonely year for me because I worked so hard and I didn't have a lot of friends because I just decreased it to the core. But in a sense, it was my most productive year so far because I got rid of my side job. That's 3 extra days per week. And I started making money. So 2022 has laid the foundation of my business and my freedom. And if I had decided that year to party a lot and go out a lot, I wouldn't have been able to get through all the difficulties because there was so much bullshit involved and so much that I had to learn. And I also had a couple of parents telling me that I had to school if I wasn't going to get results or they were going to kick me out. So if you're like 18 years old, 20 years old, doesn't really matter. Like if you have a lot of risk, I would spend as much time as possible on your business and spend the weekends on having fun, of course, but don't waste your time. Okay, so that's it for today. I've got work to do. Leave a like, subscribe. I really don't care. Comment below